अरहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाय स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर जोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। Summary. We were on to bondage element, and in the bondage element paragraph, second last paragraph on page number 50. This word thought condition has been used time and again, and it means misapprehension. Uh, it is also called thought conditions. It is also called state of uncertainty of soul due to ignorance. It also means false intention, false belief. Okay. So all these are synonymous word for this thought condition. We have been using these words in this particular bondage element many times. And in short, it means wrong belief. Okay. It is through thought condition that this soul assumes various states of existence. So various states of existence is a fallout of the thought conditions. Mithya, no, Adhyavasan. In Hindi it is called Adhyavasan, that thought condition, misapprehension. Okay. So there are four states of existence as a subhuman, Tiryans, hell being Narak, celestial being Dev, or human, Manushya. Similarly, it is due to the same thought condition, same misapprehension that the soul engages in various forms of merit and demerit and perceives itself in terms of righteousness and unrighteousness, sentience, non-sentience. So here righteousness is not the righteousness, it is actually medium of motion and medium of rest. You can write it down. This has been misinterpreted. Medium of motion, medium of rest. So this is dharma, adharma, dravya among the six dravyas. Okay. So in six dravyas, we have medium of motion and medium of rest. These two act as an instrumental cause for soul and matter to move from one place to another place or to stop from moving. Okay. In both the cases, these two substances acts as an instrumental cause. So this is dharma, adharma, dravya. Dharmastikai, adharmastikai. Okay. Then we have sentience and non-sentience, jiva, jiv, soul, non-soul elements. Then we have worldly realm, lok, and the transcendent realm, aloka, akash. Okay. Worldly realm and the transcendent realm. So soul engages in various forms of merits, demerits, and perceive itself in terms of righteousness, unrighteousness, no, medium of rest, medium of motion, sentience, non-sentience, the worldly realm, and the transcendent realm. In this way, the soul becomes bound, okay, because of his engagement with merits and demerits and all these, he considers himself to be that. That's why the bondage is happening. Okay. However, one is free from thought conditions, free from wrong belief, free from misapprehension. Okay. That monk is not entangled in inauspicious or auspicious karmas. So one who practices discriminative knowledge and sees these emotions, these thought conditions as different from the soul, they are not entangled in this and they are free from this. Okay. Now there are synonymous coming up for this word, thought conditions. Intellect, buddhi. Resolution, vyavasai. Perception, mati. Cognition, vigyan. Mind, chit. Modification, parinam. And thought conditions. All these are synonymous. Okay. Next page. All the activities related.
What sutra does it come under?
What?
Verse number is?
Verse number, 1 minute, I'll just see it. It is around 265.
Thank you, Ji.
Around that, one or two places
Okay.
here, there. Okay. So, all the activities related to various vows, restraints, controls, moral conduct, austerities, done for the sake of worldly enjoyment, okay, sensual pleasure, as well as vast scriptural knowledge possessed by the ignorant soul who lacks faith in liberation and is also incapable of liberation, abhavya, serve only as instrumental causes of bondage, of karma bondage, not destruction of karma. So, an ignorant soul, although he gets involved in all these kind of religious activities like vows, restraints, controls, moral conduct, austerities, okay, but the motive is different. The motive is for worldly enjoyment, and he also studies scriptures, but again he lacks faith in liberation, and of course he is incapable of liberation. So for him, these acts as an instrumental cause of bondage and not destruction of karma. Hence, despite engaging in such activities, such a person remains ignorant. Only monks who rely on the viewpoint of absolute reality. Absolute reality means real point of view. Nischay nahi. On the viewpoint of real viewpoint, attain liberation. Now this is very, very important. This is verse number 272. You can write it down. Only monks who rely on the viewpoint of absolute reality, that is nischay nahi, attain liberation. From the viewpoint of absolute reality, that is real point of view, the soul itself is knowledge, belief, conduct, stoppage of influx, spiritual meditation, and renunciation. From the conventional viewpoint, knowledge of scriptures like the Acharang, etc., is knowledge. Fundamental principle is belief, and the 6 classes of living beings is conduct. So this is all from the conventional point of view. From the real point of view, the soul itself is knowledge, itself is belief, itself is conduct, everything is soul itself. Okay. Next paragraph. Although the soul has the nature of transformation, it does not itself transform into states like attachment and other impurities due to its intrinsic pure nature. Okay. So when the soul takes its shelter of his intrinsic pure nature, the attachments and other impurities does not only manifest. Okay. But when it takes the shelter of external substances, then it manifests like attachment and other impurities. because whenever it takes shelter of its pure intrinsic nature, it is always manifesting pure sentiments, pure modifications, pure disposition. The soul deviates from its pure nature and transforms into attachment and similar states only when influenced by external substances that act as an instrumental cause. The ignorant one, considering the emotions arising from the fruit of karmas as its own. They were different. Here he needs to practice discriminative knowledge, but he is considering this, the emotions arising from the fruition of karma, as its own. He makes oneness with it. He considers it's mine. He becomes a doer and he enjoys that. Therefore, he transforms into attachments, aversions, and passions. Thus, becoming their doer binds future karmas repeatedly, and the cycle goes on. On the other hand, the enlightened one neither identifies with nor transforms into states of attachment, aversion, and passions, which arise due to the fruition of karma, and consequently is not the doer of those transformations, and therefore does not accumulate new karmic bondage. Okay. On the other hand, the enlightened one, okay, the right believer, neither identifies with nor transforms into states of attachment, aversion, and passion. Although that is also happening to a enlightened one, attachments, aversion, passions, but they don't do oneness with it. They don't do mindness with it. They don't become doer and they don't become enjoyer. And that is why they are enlightened one, which arise due to the fruition of karma and consequently is not the doer of those transformations and therefore does not accumulate new karmic bondage. Such a nice thing to learn, you know. Same situation, one soul is binding new karmas and another soul is not binding new karmas. Okay. So it's all depends on your understanding. Little bit of understanding, little bit of hard work, little bit of contemplations, and then of course the decision making changes everything in life. This is a very transformational journey. Okay. So only those who have the vision to learn from this kind of structures, this kind of scriptures, they only will be able to do this thing. So you should have an intent. Why I'm studying? What is the benefit of studying? Okay. So if you study with purpose, definitely you are going to get the fruits of this. Non-repentance. Apratikaman. A means nahi. Pratikaman means repentance. And non-renunciation, apratyakhyan. Pratyakhyan means tyag. Okay. Non-renunciation are of two types each. Okay. One is material, another is psychic. So we had this material influx, psychic influx, material bondage, psychic bondage. Then we had material stoppage, psychic stoppage. Similarly, here also the non-repentance and non-renunciation are of two types each. Non-repentance of material matters accepted in the past, non-repentance of psychic experience in the past, then non-renunciation of material matters of the future, and non-renunciation of psychic experiences of the future. Okay. So non-repentance is of two types, non-renunciation is of two types. As long as the soul engages in non-repentance and non-renunciation of both material and disposition, okay, it remains the doer. Okay. So if the soul engages in non-repentance and non-renunciation of both material and disposition, it remains the doer. However, when it begins repenting and renouncing material substances and disposition, it becomes the non-doer of karma. It becomes the enlightened one. Okay. Other karma means sinful acts. Okay. And uddeshika means to consume food prepared for that purpose only. Okay. So other karma and uddeshika are inherently unconscious and attribute of
Excuse me, what is an Adha karma? You are saying something.
other karma is sinful acts.
Sinful acts.
Yes.
Okay, Udeshika means?
Uddeshaka means food, like suppose true monks, okay? So true monks doesn't accept food which has been purposely prepared for them.
Yeah.
Okay, that is called uddisht ahar. So they
Okay,
don't
okay.
have uddisht ahar. Okay,
Okay.
they will come with
Understood.
their own rules and regulations, and if they get food at their terms and condition, then only they accept. Okay,
Okay.
so they never take food prepared exclusively for them. Okay, other karma and uddeshika are inherently unconscious and attributes of non-living matter. Therefore, I, the enlightened one, am not their doer. Okay. So sinful acts and this kind of activities which is present in the life of a true monk, okay, they are considered to be matter. Okay. And the enlightened one does not become their doer. Although it happens, but they don't become doer. Because they know that they are pure soul, and when you are a pure soul, then your function is to just to know and not do anything. Okay, so this is and not their doer. Last paragraph and the concluding paragraph of this bondage element. In this way, at the conclusion of this section, the Acharya has explained the law of synchronicity. What is this synchronicity? Nimit nemitik sambandh. Okay. Instrumental cause and effect relationship is called synchronicity. In this way, at the conclusion of this session, the Acharya has explained the law of synchronicity between external substances and the soul, encouraging the abandonment of reliance on external causes and instead taking refuge in the inherent nature of the soul. So this is the end of bondage element. Now the last liberation section, and then we have one more chapter which is absolute pure knowledge section. Okay, so that would be the last. Before that, we will be doing this liberation. Darshit ji, you read.
Okay. Liberation section, Moksha Adhikar. Since eternity, the soul has been bound by the bondage of karma. This bondage is not eliminated merely by understanding the nature of karma in terms of its type, quantity, duration, and intensity, nor through its contemplation alone. However, when a soul that is bound by karma understands both the nature of bondage and the intrinsic nature of the soul, develops disinterest towards causes of bondage, remains aloof from the attachment and other passions, and breaks free from bondage, only then does it become free from karma and attains liberation. Understanding the nature of the soul and bondage, the soul determines that bondage should be removed and the pure self realized. The realization of the pure soul happens through wisdom. Through wisdom, the soul determines that I am one, I am conscious, I am the knower and the seer, and all other dispositions are external to me. In this way, the enlightened one, recognizing all alien dispositions as separate and being free from the offense of considering external substances as one's own, knows oneself solely as pure, with firm conviction that I will not be bound. Such a person moves about free of doubt regarding bondage and remains engaged in spiritual practice, knowing that I am none other than the pure soul. Shall I carry on?
Yeah, one more paragraph.
Okay. Perfection, accomplishment, attainment, achievement, and reverence. All these are synonymous terms indicating a faultless state. The soul that is devoid of the flawless condition is termed as erring soul. A soul burdened with faults is not free of doubt, whereas only a faultless soul is truly free of doubt.
Last paragraph.
Okay. Repentance, reorientation, avoidance, concentration, renunciation, self-condemnation, censure, and purification. These are the 8 types of poisonous vessels because they involve a sense of doership. On the other hand, non-repentance, non-reorientation, non-avoidance, non-concentration, non-renunciation, non-self-condemnation, non-censure, and non-purification. These are nectar vessels because they negate doership and therefore do not lead to karmic bondage.
So very small chapter of liberation, and in this chapter of liberation, liberation means to get rid of all types of karmas. Karmas are the cause of our bondage and transmigration, and to get liberated from this karma is liberation. Okay. So since eternity, the soul has been bound by the bondage of karma. This bondage is not merely by understanding the nature of karma. This bondage is not eliminated merely by understanding the nature of karma in terms of its type, prakriti, quantity, pradesh, duration, and intensity, nor through its contemplation alone. Only if you keep on contemplating about the bondage, you are not going to get rid of bondage. However, when a soul that is bound by karma understands both the nature of bondage and the intrinsic nature of the soul. So, nature of bondage is from the negative point of view, and from the positive point of view, it is the intrinsic nature of the soul. You have to understand that the intrinsic nature of the soul is to just to know. Whatever comes in, it has to just to know and not become a doer. Okay. Develops disinterest towards causes of bondage, remains aloof from attachment and other possession, and breaks free from bondage. Only then it becomes free from karma and attain liberation. Okay. Understanding the nature of the soul and bondage, the soul determines that bondage should be removed, because this is the cause of my experience of miseries, sorrow, grief, pain, all kinds, right? That bondage should be removed and the pure self realized. So this much discrimination, you have to know that the bondage has to be removed. The bondage is not something very good. We have been transmigrating since time immemorial, and now we have got access to this true gods, true scriptures, and true monks. So we should practice this discriminative knowledge and realize ourselves. Okay. The realization of the pure soul happens through wisdom. Now, what is this wisdom? Wisdom is nothing but understanding. Okay. Understanding about the 7 fundamental elements. Okay. The realization of the pure soul happens through wisdom. Through wisdom, the soul determines that I am one, I am conscious, I am the knower and seer. Okay. And all other dispositions are external to me. I am just only a knower and seer. Okay. So this is the true identity of our soul. We are all pure soul and our job is just to know, okay, and see. We don't go beyond that. We don't become a doer. Although we believe that I am a doer, but we don't become one. Okay. Nature of things are so good in the nature that even if you believe that you are not a pure soul, you don't cease to be a pure soul. Okay. You always remain a pure soul, whether you believe it or you don't believe it. Okay. So this is how. In this way, the enlightened one, recognizing all alien disposition per bhav as separate and being free from the offense of considering external substances as one's own, knows oneself solely as pure. With firm conviction that I will not be bound, such a person moves about free of doubt. Okay. Regarding bondage and remains engaged in spiritual practice, knowing that I am none other than the pure soul. Okay. Although from time immemorial we have been forced upon to become a doer of external activities, but in reality we are not the doer. Okay. So if you develop this understanding and you believe, you know your limits, what is in your domain and what is not your in domain, you have a very clear cut understanding of the pure soul, then such a person moves about free of doubt, no ambiguity, no doubts, no confusion, nothing, everything clear as crystal. Okay. And remains engaged in spiritual practice, knowing that I am none other than the pure soul. Okay. So the task is very simple. You have to identify yourself and understand yourself that I am none other than the pure soul. I am not the doer of these emotions, toxic thoughts, attachments, aversions, nothing. I am only an observer. So when you remain an observer, there is no reaction because your function is just to know, not go beyond that. Where you got this from, this is good and this is bad. No, nothing good, bad. It all depends on our internal emotions, internal sentiments, whether we are binding new karmas or not. Okay. Okay. Perfection, accomplishment, attainment, achievement, and reverence. All these are synonymous terms indicating a faultless state. Okay. Indicating a faultless state. What is this faultless state? Niraprad dasa. So in reality, you are not the doer and you remain an observer. So it is a faultless state. And if you become a doer, then you are in fault. Okay. The soul that is devoid of the flawless condition is termed as erring soul. A soul burdened with faults is not free of doubt, whereas only a faultless soul is truly free of doubt. Repentance, pratikaman, reorientation, pratisaran, avoidance, parihar, concentration, dharana, renunciation, nivritti, self-condemnation, ninda, censor, graha. So what is the difference between ninda and graha? Graha is done against in the presence of a guru. Okay. And ninda you can do yourself individually. Okay. So say there are some wrongful activities which we realize. Okay. And if you do it as a process of self-condemnation, then it is fine. But if you are not able to get rid of that, thoughts keeps on coming again and again, then you better go to your guru and tell him. He will manage. Okay. Self-condemnation, censor, and purification. These are 8 types of poisonous vessel. Why is considered as a poisonous vessel, you know? Because they involve a sense of doership. Okay. So when you become a doer, you are an ignorant person. And if you are an ignorant person, these all will act as an poisonous vessel for you. Okay. So first you have to manifest right belief, and after manifesting right belief, you know that you are an observer and not the doer. Okay. Then you can go in the evening and whatever. Because they involve a sense of doership. So doership is the most biggest crime, you know, for the soul, because the soul is only a knower and seer. And if he becomes a doer and if he believes that he is a doer, then this is the biggest fault. Okay. On the other hand, non-repentance, non-reorientation, okay, non-avoidance, non-concentration, non-renunciation, non-self-condemnation, non-censure, and non-purification. These are nectar vessels because they negate doership and therefore do not lead to karmic bondage. So the conclusion is that if you become a doer, you are binding new karmas. And if you are not becoming a doer, only accepting is something happening on its own, then you are not binding new karmas. Okay. Now we are coming on to the last chapter. Section on absolute pure knowledge, Sarva Vishuddha Gyan Adhikar. So this particular Samay scriptures is written in the commentary is written by Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev, and it's in the drama form. Okay. So in earlier days there was no other instruments for instrument. So there was this drama, you know, and people used to gather and watch this drama very seriously. Okay. And in that, a person would come in the form of a guise, okay, disguise. So when the audience identifies that character, then he leaves the stage, okay. And if the audience is not able to identify it, then he is a winner. So these were the games played at those point of time. 1000 years ago, Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev was here. At that time, this was the only source of entertainment. Okay. So when there are no guys, okay, when there are no disguise, no roles, okay, then it is called pure knowledge. So pure knowledge has got no, I can say, no any type of guise, okay. It is only in its true form, and that is called Sarva Vishuddha Gyan Adhikar. After explaining the 9 fundamental elements, primarily from the perspective of the real viewpoint, this section describes absolute pure knowledge, Sarva Vishuddha Gyan, which serves as the foundation of the path to liberation. Okay. So, Subhaji, you read from the beginning after explaining.
After explaining the 9 fundamental elements, primarily from the perspective of real viewpoint, this section describes absolute pure knowledge, which serves as the foundation of the path to liberation. The soul is devoid of doership of external substances, and in support of this, it is stated that every substance is inseparable from its attributes and modification. Therefore, the transformation of living and non-living entities are their own. This is why the soul is a doer only of its own attributes and modification and not the doer of karma. The doer of karma is matter substance. Since modification, such as knowledge obscuring karma, etc., occur within matter. Similarly, the soul alone is the doer of attachment, etc., not an external substance, because modifications like attachment occur within the soul itself. The modification of all substances are distinct from one another. Therefore, each substance is the doer of its own modification, and those modifications are the deeds of those substances. In absolute viewpoint, no substance has a doer-deed relationship with any substance. Therefore, both the living and non-living substances are the doers of their own transformation, and those transformations are their own deeds. In this way, by absolute viewpoint, the soul and the different types of karma are devoid of a doer-deed relationship. However, due to ignorance, an ignorant being considers itself to be the doer of external things. As a result, it undergoes bondage, becomes the doer of karma, and experiences the fruit of karma. On the other hand, an enlightened being, through the power of discriminative knowledge, merely knows them, but neither does binds them nor experiences their results. Therefore, a detached enlightened being is called a non-doer and non-experiencer.
Stop. After explaining the 9 fundamental elements, this was done. The soul is devoid of doership of external substance. Okay. Soul can at most be the doer of the attachments, aversions, and other passions that is happening in the modification of the soul. But it is always devoid of doership of external substance, some other substance. Okay. So one substance cannot do anything of the other substance. Okay. So the soul is devoid of doership of external substance, and in support of this, it is stated that every substance is inseparable from its attributes and modification. Okay. So every substance has to take responsibility for its attributes and modification, because they arise in the soul itself, in the substance itself, and the substance is the doer of all those conditions. Okay. Therefore, the transformation of living, non-living entities are their own. So living being is also having every moment one transformation, and non-living beings are also having transformation every moment. Okay. It never stops. Okay. That is why the soul is the doer only of its own attributes and modification, and not the doer of karma, because karmas are material substance and soul is a conscious substance. So how can a conscious substance do anything in the soul? Okay. The doer of karma is matter substance, since modifications such as knowledge, obscuring karma, etc. occur within matter. Similarly, the soul alone is the doer of attachment, etc., not an external substance, because modifications like attachments occur within the soul itself. The modification of all substances are distinct from one another. Therefore, each substance is the doer of its own modification, and those modifications are the deeds of those substances. In absolute viewpoint, that is real viewpoint, no substance had a doer-deed relationship with any other substances. Therefore, both the living and the non-living substances are the doers of their own transformation, and those transformation are their own deeds. In this way, by absolute viewpoint, by real viewpoint, the soul had the different types of karmas are devoid of a doer-deed relationship. So there is no doer-deed relationship between different types of karmas and the soul, because one is conscious substance, another is matter substance. So how can there be a doer-deed relationship being established? It never happens so. However, due to ignorance, an ignorant being considers itself to be a doer of external things. Okay, this is a sign of ignorance. As a result, it undergoes bondage, becomes the doer of the karma, and experiences the fruits of karma. On the other hand, an enlightened one, being through the power of discriminative knowledge, merely knows them but neither does binds them nor experience their results. Therefore, a detached enlightened being is called non-doer and non-experiencer. So up to this we have read. Now we will take it further, and Priyanka, you read.
Jai Jinendra, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, from while explicitly
Yeah,
refuting.
yeah.
Okay. While explicitly refuting the soul's doership, Acharya states that monks who consider the soul as a doer are no different from ordinary worldly people, because just as the common folk believe God to be the doer, these monks believe the soul to be the doer. Hence, both viewpoints are essentially the same. Thus, liberation is not possible for both ordinary worldly people or monks who hold on to the belief of doership. So, continue.
Yeah, one more paragraph.
While examining through absolute viewpoint who is truly the doer of the state of delusion, Acharya explains, if delusion is sentient matter substance, in the form of deluding karma, then an insentient nature becomes the doer of the delusion, making delusion itself insentient. Alternatively, if it is considered that living beings create delusion within matter substance, then matter substance itself would be established as deluded, and not the jiva. If it is believed that both jiva and nature together create delusion in matter substance, then both must also experience its consequences. Or, if neither nature nor living beings are considered responsible for creating delusion in matter substance, then matter substance would naturally possess delusion by its very nature. However, this is not the case. Thus, it is established that a living being alone is the doer of the delusion, and that is the instrumental cause for aggression of material atoms, acquiring the strength
To
to
become.
become faith deluding karma. After this, in 13 years, Acharya elaborates on the notion that karma alone is the doer of karma, while the soul is non doer. He explains that if a living being is made enlightened or ignorant, put to sleep or awakened, experiences pain or pleasure, becomes deluded or non restrained, made to wander through the upper, middle, lower realms of the universe, and auspicious and inauspicious events that occur are all solely due to karma, making karma the doer and undoer. Then the living being would be proven to be a non doer. Similarly, if the male inclination desires the female and the female inclination desires the male, then, according to this view, there should be no celibates, because karma alone would be desiring karma. It is said so in the scriptures. In the same way, killing another or being killed by another would be attributed to the external harm causing nature of karma. External harm causing nature of karma. Therefore, the living being would not be the killer, because it is karma that has killed karma. In this way, a monk who adheres to a doctrine similar to the Sankhya doctrine then in his view, the living being is established to be a non-doer. As a result, this would establish the absence of karma in the living being, and in the absence of karma, the cycle of worldly existence would also cease, which contradicts direct experience. Therefore, such a belief is untenable, fundamentally flawed.
Stop. So this whole chapter, this whole section is an extension of doer and deed section that we studied earlier last week. Okay. So in this section also, the discussion is on the doer and deed relationship. Okay. So wherever a doer and deed relationship exists, it could be within one substance only. If the doer and deed relationship is established between two substances, then it would be a conventional point of view. From the real point of view, doer and deed relationship cannot exist between two substances. Okay. So here it says, while explicitly refuting the soul's doership, Acharya states the monk who considered the soul as a doer are no different from ordinary worldly people. Even if a monk, after becoming a monk, still he believes that the soul is the doer, okay, then he is no different from ordinary worldly people. Because worldly people also accept creator God. And you are also saying that there is a creator God, okay. So, same understanding, okay. Because just as the common folk believe God to be the doer, these monks believe the soul to be the doer. Okay. So the common folk believes the God to be the doer, and these monks believe the soul to be the doer, but it is same. Hence, both viewpoints are essentially the same. Thus, liberation is not possible for both ordinary worldly people or monks who hold on to the belief of doership. So doership is the biggest crime because by nature, soul is not the doer. Okay. Soul's nature is just to know, and no, the soul doesn't go beyond knowing. Okay. That is his inherent nature. And if you believe that you are the doer, then you are doing a biggest crime. While examining through absolute viewpoint means real viewpoint. Okay. Who is truly the doer? Okay, now Acharya Dev is examining by putting arguments that who is the doer. Okay, he's trying to find out who is the doer. While examining through real viewpoint, who is truly the doer of the state of delusion, mithyatva. Acharya explained, if delusion is insentient matter means non-living. Okay. If delusion is insentient matter substance, Pudgal, in the form of deluding karma, moha karma, darshan moha karma, then an insentient nature, achetan prakriti, becomes the doer of the delusion, mithyatva, making delusion itself insentient. Okay. If delusion is insentient matter substance, Pudgal Dravya, in the form of karma, deluding karma, then an insentient nature, achetan prakriti, becomes the doer of the delusion, making delusion itself insentient. First option was this one. Then it is ruled out. Okay. Now the second option. Alternatively, if it is considered that living being create delusion within matter substance, Pudgal Dravya, then matter substance itself would be established as deluded, mithya drashti, and not the jiv. Okay. But it doesn't happen that way because the matter substance does not know itself. Okay. So, if it is believed that both jiv and nature, now the third option. So, the first one was that the state of delusion, the main question is who is the doer of state of delusion. Okay. So, in the first discussion, in the first arguments, Acharya says that if delusion is insentient nature, non-living substance like matter, in the form of deluding karma, moha karma, then it is moha karma. Then an insentient nature, achetan prakriti, becomes the doer of the delusion, making delusion itself insentient. Okay. Alternatively, if it is concerned the living being creates delusion within matter substance, Pudgal Dravya, then matter substance itself would be established as deluded, mithya dristhi, and not the jiva. If it is believed that both jeev and insentient nature, jad, together create delusion in matter substance, then both must also experience its consequences. Okay. But only the soul experiences the consequences. The matter doesn't experience any consequences. Matter does not have any type of feeling. Okay. Or if neither insentient nature nor living beings are considered responsible for creating delusion in matter substance, then matter substance would naturally possess delusion by its very nature. But that is also not so. However, this is not the case. Thus, it is established that a living being alone is the doer of the delusion, and that is the instrumental cause of aggregation, instrumental cause for aggregation of material atoms, acquiring the strength to become faith deluding karma. Okay. After this, in 13 verses, Acharya elaborates on the notion that karma alone is the doer of karma. Okay. While the soul is a non-doer. He explains that if a living being is made enlightened or ignorant, put to sleep or awakened, experiences pain or pleasure, becomes deluded, mithyatvi, or non-restrained, asayami, made to wander through the upper, middle, lower realms of the universe, and auspicious and inauspicious events that occur are solely due to karma, making karma the doer and undoer, then the living being would be proven to be a non-doer. Similarly, if the male inclination, Purush Ved, desires the female and the female inclination desires the male, then according to this view, there should be no celibates, because karma alone would be desiring karma. It is said so in the scriptures, but this is from the conventional viewpoint. From the real point of view, it's not so. In the same way, killing another or being killed by another would be attributed to the external harm causing nature of karma, parghat prakriti. Therefore, the living being would not be the killer, upghatak, because if it is karma that has killed karma. So entirely it's a matter substance transformation, karma into karma. Soul is not the doer of that. Therefore, the living being would not be the killer because it is karma that has killed karma. In this way, a monk who adheres to a doctrine similar to the Sankhya doctrine, then in his view, the living being is established to be a non-doer. Okay. The cycle of worldly existence would also cease, which contradicts direct experience. Therefore, such a belief is untenable, fundamentally flawed. Okay. So, now the next paragraph we have to read. It is also not logically from there 2 paragraphs. Yeah. Jinali, you read.
It is also not logically justified to consider the soul as the doer of its own substance.
Your voice is very slow, or is it for me only?
Is it audible? Rachiji?
It's still low.
So you may ask somebody else to.
Okay, Rajeshri ji, you read.
In conclusion, it can be said that it is not
Before that
appropriate-
paragraph, it is also
It is
not
also not logically justified to consider the soul as the doer of its own substance, because what is there to do in the soul? The soul is an eternal substance with innumerable spatial units, and nothing can be added or removed from it. Therefore, imagining any action within it is false. Alternately, if it is said that the knowing nature remains established, it is in its own inherent nature of knowledge, then this too proves that the soul does not act upon itself. In conclusion, it can be said that it's not appropriate to consider the soul as entirely non-doer of karma, and karma as entirely the doer of karma. Because in state of ignorance, the soul is the doer of its own ignorance-based karmic dispositions. Now negating the doctrine of momentariness, Acharya states, is the one who experiences also the one who acts? Or is it someone else who acts? Or is the one who acts also the one who experiences? Or is it someone else who experiences? Or does the one who acts not experience? Or does someone else act while another experiences? Accepting any of these positions in singularity or absolute terms is not appropriate because the soul is destroyed in certain modifications and not destroyed in certain modifications. Therefore, the doctrine of relative speech applies in all these cases. From the viewpoint of modification, one modification acts with another experience since modifications are momentary. However, from the viewpoint of substance, the one who acts in the same way as the one who experiences because substance is eternal.
stop. So you see the same logic continuing from the previous paragraph where Acharya wants to find out who is the doer of this mithyatva. Okay. So that was the question. And first logic was that matter is the doer of delusion. Okay. The second logic was living being is the doer of delusion. Okay. And the third logic was both soul and the insentient nature together create delusion in matter substance. Okay. So if they both are doing it, then they both must experience. Okay. Then both must also experience its consequences. But the matter substance does not bear any consequences, does not experiences any consequences. So it is only the soul who experiences its consequences. Okay. Or if neither nature nor living beings are considered responsible for creating delusion in matter substance, then matter substance would naturally possess delusion by its very own nature, by its very nature. However, this is not the case. So all the four assumptions have been ruled out. Thus, it is established that a living being alone is the doer of the delusion, and that is the instrumental cause for aggregation of material atoms. Okay. So karmas are coming just because you are becoming a doer of delusion. The instrumental cause for aggregation of material atoms acquiring the strength to become faith deluding karma, mithyatva karma. So whenever we act in such a manner where we become doer, in reality we are not doer, but when we act as we are a doer, then this matter particles which is existing throughout the atmosphere everywhere, it comes and binds with the space points of soul. Okay. That is called karma. Okay. After this, so this was done. now coming to the where from Rajeshri started. So these four logics were ruled out. Okay. It is also not logically justified to consider the soul as the doer of its own substance, because what is there to do in the soul? Because the soul's primary function is just to know, nothing doing. By nature itself, it is not the doer. Okay. The soul is an eternal substance, unchangeable, with innumerable spatial units, asankhyat pradeshi. Okay. And nothing can be added or removed from it. Therefore, imagining any action within it is false. Alternatively, if it is said that the knowing nature, Gnayak Bhav, remains established in its own inherent nature of knowledge, then this too proves that the soul does not act upon itself. Okay. So now the answer is expected. In conclusion, it can be said that it is not appropriate to consider the soul as entirely non-doer of karma and karma as entirely the doer of karma. Okay. Because in a state of ignorance, the soul is the doer of its own ignorance based karmic disposition. So long the ignorance is there, the soul is considered to be the doer, and when the ignorance goes away, soul is the non-doer. Okay, simple logic. So soul is not absolutely doer, and soul is also not absolutely non-doer. Okay, in the ignorant state, it is the doer, and when it becomes enlightened, then it is non-doer, only observer, only observer. So our true nature or true identity is that we are only knower and not doer. Okay. So we have to analyze and accept this fact, then only we can manifest pure modification. Okay. Because our belief should be aligned with the true nature of the soul. So soul is doer when it is in the ignorant state, and when it becomes enlightened one, then it is not the doer. So soul is doer also, non-doer also. Doer when it is in ignorant state, and non-doer when it is in the enlightened state. Now, negating the doctrine of momentariness, Shanikvad, Acharya states, is the one who experiences also the one who acts? Okay. So somebody is doing action, and like one modification is doing action, and the one is experiencing it. They are two different modification. So this is the question that Acharya is asking. Is the one who experiences also the one who acts, or is it someone else who acts? Okay. Or is the one who acts also the one who experiences, or is it someone else who experiences? Or does the one who acts not experience, or does someone else act while another experience? Accepting any of these position in singularity, in absolutism, okay, is not appropriate, because the soul is destroyed in certain modification and not destroyed in certain modification. Therefore, the doctrine of relative speech, Syadvad, all the statements in Jinvani are being made from a certain perspective called Syadvad, relative speech, applies in all these cases. From the viewpoint of modification, one modification acts while another experiences. Since modifications are momentary, they are only for a moment. So one modification acts, another experiences. However, from the point of view of substance, dravya drashti, the one who acts is the same as the one who experiences, because substance is eternal, okay, non-changing, dhruv, constant. So, from the viewpoint of substance, the one who acts is the same as the one who experiences, because substance is eternal. So now only few minutes are left, so I'm only reading it now. From the conventional viewpoint, the living being, now they are talking about the conventional viewpoint. Just now we were discussing from the real viewpoint, okay? From the conventional viewpoint, the living being becomes doer of material karmas. Conventional point, no problem. We have studied in real point of view and conventional point of view, 4 conventional point of view. Number 1, soul is the doer of external substances like home, car, shop, parents, children, okay? That one, number 1. Number 2, soul is the doer of karma, material karma and body. Then number 3, soul is the doer of 100% impure modes and partial pure modes. Number 4, soul is the doer of 100% pure modes and distinction of qualities, distinction of attributes, okay, gun bhed. So all these 4 are conventional viewpoint, and from that conventional viewpoint, if you consider the soul as the doer, there is no problem, because conventional statements are always like that. Conventional statement never depicts the truth, okay? It is the real point of view that depicts the truth. But still, to make people understand, to make ignorant people understand, this conventional viewpoint is used widely in Jinagam, Jinvani. So, from the conventional viewpoint, the living being becomes the doer of material karmas, experiences the fruits of material karmas, engages in action through mind, speech and body. So, mind, speech and body are also matter substance, okay? Yet it does not become one with any of them. So from the conventional point of view, soul is the doer, okay? But it doesn't become one with any of them. This is the reality, okay? From the absolute viewpoint, that is the real viewpoint, the soul becomes the doer of its karma in the form of its own modification, okay? So from the real point of view, doer and deed relationship exist only within one substance, okay? The pot has been made from clay, so the clay is the doer of pot and not the potter, okay? From the conventional viewpoint, potter is the doer of pot, okay? But from the real point of view, clay is the doer of pot. From the absolute viewpoint, the soul becomes doer of its karma in the form of its own modification and experiences the fruits of these karmas, which are also in the form of its own modification. The soul is non-distinct, okay, from these modification. Non-distinct means it is not different from this modification. It is this modification itself, okay. Now the conclusion paragraph. Thus it is clear that from the conventional viewpoint, there is a distinction between the doer and the deed. Potter is the doer of pot, okay, conventional viewpoint. However, from the absolute viewpoint, the doer and deed are the same. It exists in only in one substance, okay. From the absolute viewpoint, means from the real viewpoint, there is no relationship of known, knower, seen, seer, renounced, renouncer, etc. Yes. Between the soul and external substance, because two different substance. External substance is matter substance and soul is conscious substance. So from the real point of view, there could not be established any relationship between the two because both are independent of each other. But from the conventional viewpoint, there exists a doer and deed relationship. There is no harm in that, but it is from the conventional viewpoint. But from the real point of view, there is no relationship of known, knower, seen, seer, renounced, renouncer, etc. between the soul and external substances. Just as in reality, the whitewash does not belong to the wall. The whitewash is simply the whitewash itself. Similarly, the knower does not belong to external substance. The knower is simply the knower. The seer does not belong to external substance. The seer is simply the seer. The self-restrained one, sanyat, does not belong to external substance. The self-restrained one is simply self-restrained. Likewise, perception does not belong to external substance. Perception is simply perception itself. So these are all statements from the real point of view. Furthermore, from the conventional viewpoint, just as the whitewash makes the external object white by its own nature, in the same way the knower knows external substance by its own nature. The soul sees external substance by its own nature. The knower renounces external substance by its own nature. And the right believer has faith in external substance by its own nature. But all this is from the conventional viewpoint. From the real point of view, there exists no relationship between known and knower, seen and seer, renounced and renouncer. Okay, no relationship between the soul and the external substance. But from the conventional point of view, we can always establish relationship between two substance, and it is called nimit namitic sambandh. Synchronicity. निमित्त नैमित्तिक संबंध. Where this word was used,
Page number 16, sir.
Page number 16, last paragraph of
Second down,
stoppage.
third paragraph from down, sir.
In this way, at the conclusion of this section, the Acharya explained the law of synchronicity. Synchronicity was the word that is called nimit naimittik sambandh. Furthermore, from the conventional viewpoint, just as the whitewash makes the external object white by its own nature, in the same way, the knower knows external substance by its own nature. The soul sees external substance by its own nature. The knower renounces external substance by its own nature. The right believer has faith in external substance by its own nature. In summary, it can be said that from the pure viewpoint, the soul is only pure consciousness. From the pure viewpoint means from the real viewpoint. Okay. The number 8, supremely pure real point of view. Here in Samay it is called pure viewpoint, but we have to mean number 8. The soul is only pure consciousness. And knowing, seeing, having faith and renouncing are its modification. From the absolute viewpoint, that is real viewpoint, the soul cannot be called the knower, observer, having faith in external substance, because from this viewpoint there is no relation between external substance and the soul. However, conventionally, all these statements are made. As there exists the law of synchronicity, nimit nemitik bhav, between external substance and the soul. So here we stop. We will continue tomorrow and finish this Samaisar summary, and then we will be starting from the next week Samaisar. I have already given you homework for Gandhar Mulyankan, which is from this Samaisar summary. I have given one chapter to each. Okay. So you have to prepare and share it in the group. Everyone will listen, and it will be kind of revision for each and every one of you. Not more than 5 minutes, maximum is 5 minutes. And in CC2, you have to write the whole summary. Okay. Each section, only the essence. Okay. So from 1 page to 6 page, maximum 6 page, and plus the myth buster. Okay. So that is also from here. We will be finishing this by tomorrow. So you can start your homework. I have counted 21 days from tomorrow itself. Okay. So your days would be cut, and both the homeworks will start from tomorrow itself. Okay. 21 days from tomorrow. So you have 2 assignments lined up with you right now. So you can start doing it right now. Otherwise, during the end, you are sometimes busy in some work or the other, then you miss out the deadline. Okay. So I want each and every one of you to start doing it and read it 2 to 3 times. Okay. And then start writing. So it will be a good revision also. Okay. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है. 9 times नमोकार मंत्र.